a series by Adam Clever. Enjoy, and if you like, subscribe.
She walked in fast, but in her mind the effort seemed like trekking a weighted vest an hour from the door to the chair in my office. Her head hung low, no eye contact, but the biting down on her tongue was obvious. The open-mouth chewing caused the thrush-covered organ to bleed, colouring her teeth from brown to red. She looked up with just her eyes, red and mysterious and empty. The quickly observed dilated pupils gave no indication of inherent evil, but contained a story that repeated the same chapter with no option to dictate the narrative. Her unkempt hair was matted by vomit and sweat, dried in a pattern incapable of being undone with any comb. I could smell a stench that introduced itself, but politely, as to not offend in a way that caused obvious disgust. I looked in silence while grabbing my pen and yellow notepad. I glanced at the meditation chart to the left, signalling and inhaling strongly, hoping that it would give the impression of calm and release, but the effort failed. "Hello, Yolanda," I spoke softly, since an elevated tone was a trigger point with consequences. Our sessions were limited to 45 minutes, so I had to at least get enough for the initial assessment to determine the best treatment plan moving forward. She seems more suitable for regular sessions with psychiatry, until her meds have kicked in enough that I'm not distracted by her physical manifestations of dreamland. Her chart indicated a history of suicide ideation, cyclothymia, and generalized anxiety disorder, but her presentation said PTSD, panic disorder, and possibly schizoaffective disorder. My first impression was that she wasn't expecting me, a reflection of herself, and somewhere on the over 30 spectrum, capping at around early 40s. Although not verbalized, she took a brief pause from her mind's mess to acknowledge the developing kinship that would be determined at a later date. "Are you afraid, Yolanda?" I wanted her to feel as at ease as possible, but we have to speed this up. She started laughing uncontrollably in a way that made me feel uneasy, seemingly transforming into another person. It's not easy being forced to sit here pretending this is normal, but my job requires me to alternate between realities, mine that's real and theirs that's imagined. I clear my throat and ask her kindly, "Do you want to be called Yolanda?" She looks at me and says, "Do you want to be called by your name tag or who you really are?" Puzzled by this response, but curiously I ask, "What do you mean?" "I mean you think I'm crazy, so regardless of what my name is, to you I'm crazy, right?" "Not at all. If you're here, it's because you need help, and as the therapist, my job is make sure you get the treatment that you need." "Really? So what exactly are you treating?" "This person is not who walked in my office 30 minutes ago." She looks through me as if reading a story through ice. "What is your name?" I'm not sure where she's going with this. "I'm Dr. Love. Well, that's what everybody calls me." "Dr. Love? Interesting. Psychologist or psychiatrist?" "Psychologist, but listen, Yolanda. We have to stay focused on why you're here. Our time is limited, and I have to have something useful to put on this encounter form. Let's make these last few minutes productive." "Your badge says Eve Lovelace, PhD. So again, why do they call you Dr. Love?" My irritation is being constrained by a paycheck. "Because that's what I prefer." "So why do you call me Yolanda? That's not who I am." I asked you what you would prefer, didn't I? But you asked only after you thought I was becoming someone else. You wanted to have something about me to add to your narrative that's more about what I look like than who I am. You see, they keep me medicated, taking me out of my world and forcing me into theirs. It allows them to control me, since my world has many faces that I can use to adjust to my circumstances. I'm a threat. Meanwhile, you can only be Dr. Love because being safe and predictable brings comfort to you and them. She's attempting to assess me? The PhD? Okay. Unfortunately, our time is up. So we'll meet again in 2 weeks, same day and time. And so we can have a more productive session next time, let's start by being respectful of each other's name preferences. I'm always Dr. Love. But for you, if at any time you want to change your name preferences, then I respect that. You can let me know at that time. If you know right now, I can indicate it in my notes and make sure I greet you appropriately at our next meeting. She went back to the person she was upon arrival, slouching down in her chair and biting her tongue. I don't have time for this when my next appointment is a few minutes. Eve Lovelace, is that you? Obviously, I have to play along to get along. It's me, and you are? With her head now raised and piercing eyes, she speaks. Who am I? Or what's my name, 'cause it's the same? Okay. Then what is it? Killer. Smile.